Professor Leibowitz on Veschanan. Veschanan is the Sidra of Shabbos Nachman, the Shabbos after the 9th of Av. That is why the Haftarah chosen from this Shabbos is the great chapter of consolation, the book of Yeshaya. But this is not at all simple, for it is just the Sidra of Veschanan, which is followed by the message of consolation, which contains the short Torah reading for the 9th of Av itself, that being the Parsha of the destruction. When you will beget children and grandchildren, and will have dwelt long in the land. This is stated even before the major part of the land was conquered, and tells us what will happen, or is liable to happen. The Israelites will corrupt the land and become corrupt themselves, Moses warns Israel. You will soon vanish from the land. You will not live long in it, but will perish. It is just on Shabbos Nachamu that the Torah reading includes the Parsha, which, because of its content, is read on the 9th of Av. It is true that immediately after this warning, you will perish. Hope is offered for the future. You will turn back to the Lord your God, and he will not forget the sworn covenant with your fathers. God does not forget. The basic question is whether you will remember or forget. In that smart Parsha, we also find, "You have been shown that you might know that the Lord is God, there is none else besides him. Know therefore this day, and consider in your heart, that the Lord is God in heaven above and on earth below, there is none else. You have been shown, but that is no guarantee that you see. God showed it to you, but you did not see, and that is why your future is not secure." What is interesting is that in the Haftarah, which it would appear is a message of consolation, which begins with the lofty words that are so well known by many. "Comfort, comfort my people. Says your God, comfort Jerusalem and tell it. It is a time of desolation has come to an end, and iniquity has been pardoned, for it has received of God's hand double for all its sins." Is, if one dwells into it closely after the great call of consolation for the destruction, a strong admonition for the fact that people refrain to recognize God's deeds. Even though they have been shown, so that they should know that he is God, they do not see this. Thus we see that the matters of the admonition and destruction on the one hand, and of consolation and return on the other, are bound together, and cannot be separated. The Sidra of Veschanan includes two of the most central parshiot in the Torah, the 10 Commandments, which are repeated in Veschanan, with some stylistic changes as compared to the 10 Commandments in the Sidra of Yisroi, and the second Parsha, which has become the first paragraph of the Shema, the prime document of faith in Israel. I'll discuss the Shema next week, for next week's Parsha includes the second paragraph of the Shema, V'haya im Shemaya. I will discuss the connection between the two Parshiot. But here I would like to discuss the beginning of the Sidra of Veschanan, which would appear has nothing to do with these matters and is, to a certain sense, a personal concern of Moses, in which he pleads to God to annul the decree that he will not enter the land of Israel. A few weeks ago, I discussed the fact that Moses is not aware of the fact that he has sinned, but regards the decree against him as not being justified. When he pleads to God here, he does not ask for forgiveness of his sin, but for the annulment of the decree. And this is depicted in a most dramatic form in many midrashim, which deals with the great debate between Moses and God regarding God's decree against him, and his demand that the decree, one which he regards as an injustice toward himself, be annulled, and God's refusal to accede to him. Here I will only discuss one of these midrashim, because it has a message which affects us. At the end of the major discussion between God and Moses, when Moses demands that God prolong his life so that he will be able to enter the land, God says to him, "You are demanding life, and you yourself, did I tell you to kill the Egyptian?" God suddenly reminds Moses of something that had happened 40 years earlier. He killed a human being. It is true that he killed an Egyptian who was beating an Israelite, but he killed a person. If that is so, how can he demand life? The dispute takes a most dramatic turn when Moses has the audacity to respond to God, "You are punishing me for killing an Egyptian, but you killed an Egyptian firstborn who has not sinned. Should I then die for a single Egyptian?" To this God has a decisive answer. "Are you comparing yourself to me? It is I who give life and take it away. Whatever life a person has comes from me, and I have the right to take it back. But you, are you able to give life? Who gave you the right to take life?" It is fitting that we should think of these words that one of the Amoraim stated in this Agada. Even in such a case where Moses killed an Egyptian who was striking an Israelite, where his action was justified, we're confronted by a disturbing problem. When a person killed another for whatever reason and whatever the justification, one must therefore think of those situations where we regard it as legitimate to sacrifice human life, or to take human life for something which appears to be more precious than human life. And yet the question remains, are we assuming for ourselves the authority which only God has? For it is He who gives life and has the right to take it.